My name is Logan Brooks, and today I'm going to tell the truth that broke me from the inside. My closest friend, my best man, slept with my bride the night before our wedding, and she got pregnant. I said nothing. I endured everything, all the way to the altar. But what I did in front of the priest, the bride's eyes widened. The best man's face turned pale. I'm 30 years old, a lead systems developer, and my specialty is building smart logistics systems for construction businesses. My family owns Brooks Sons Supply Co., a well-known building materials company here in the Midwest state. Everything in my life seemed to be falling into place, especially with my wedding just one day away. I was marrying Claire Morgan, but this wasn't just about love. Our marriage was also set to seal a major business alliance. Claire's family owned Morgan Estates Group, a powerful real estate development firm and our biggest client. I was the bridge between old-school construction and modern tech, tasked with upgrading our systems and integrating them with theirs. Once married, our families would be united in a partnership worth millions. I loved Claire, I truly did. But I wasn't blind. I knew our union also had commercial weight. I trusted her, and I thought that trust made me strong. But I would learn, on the night before the wedding, that trust can also be your greatest weakness. I'm a planner by nature. Every step of my life has been mapped out like code, orderly, logical, efficient. That mindset helped me build systems for companies across the region, but nothing in my life prepared me for the betrayal I uncovered the night before the celebration. The final rehearsal had ended a few hours earlier at Riverfront Suites in Ridgefield. Guests were still around, chatting and enjoying drinks. I was at the bar talking with a few of them when Ethan Price, my best friend from college, and my best man, walked over. Ethan always annoyed me with his carelessness, especially with tech. That night, he left his smartphone on the table, unlocked, while heading to the restroom. A notification lit up the screen. What I saw made my stomach drop. It was a text message from Claire. The preview read, "Loved what you sent me." I felt something twist inside me. Curiosity, or instinct, made me open the full thread. That's when I saw it. A media clip. Ethan had recorded a private moment, an intimate one, between him and Claire, in her hotel room. That very night. I recognized the setting instantly. I recognized their voices. My fiancé. My best friend. Together. My hands curled into fists. My breath caught in my throat. My first instinct was to confront him, violently. But a calm, razor-sharp voice in my mind said, "Don't go to jail for people like this." With steady hands and a frozen heart, I copied the file to my own phone before Ethan returned. By the time he sat down again, laughing and talking about the wedding, I had already begun wearing a mask of calm I didn't know I had. The media clip, shot by Ethan himself, left nothing to the imagination. Hours before, while I was finalizing our honeymoon plans, they had been in her room together. Two people I trusted more than anyone, and they chose to betray me on the eve of our wedding. But instead of breaking down, something else clicked inside me. Clarity. I wouldn't confront them now. I wouldn't ruin the night. I would wait. I would expose them in a way no one would ever forget. I remembered things I had brushed off over the past few months. Glances between them, conversations that went silent when I walked in, casual touches that I thought were friendly. I was skilled at spotting bugs in code, but I had completely missed the biggest flaw in my own life. That night, I smiled at guests. I accepted congratulations. I wasn't optimizing a warehouse anymore. I was building justice. While Claire slept peacefully in her room, thinking her secret was safe, I stayed awake, more focused than ever. I studied their message history. The betrayal had been going on for several weeks. Photos, clips, conversations, mocking me behind my back while I worked on syncing our businesses and arranging a Caribbean honeymoon. I saved every message and file into a secure online folder. But I didn't want just evidence. I wanted timing. I wanted impact. I started laying out the plan for my response, line by line, like code, because this wasn't just revenge. This was going to be my final system deployment. I uploaded every file, every message, photo, and media clip to a secure online folder. The evidence was now mine to control, but I didn't want to just gather proof. I wanted timing. I wanted a moment no one would forget. The celebration was set for Willow Creek Manor, a stunning venue along the Silverpine River. Nearly 200 guests had RSVP'd, including our top clients from Brooks Sons Supply Co. and Morgan Estates Group. The ceremony would begin in the late afternoon, with a private live stream set up for family members who couldn't make it. I designed a mass distribution script using my own server system. Every phone number on the guest list would receive a text message with a direct link to the media clip. The moment I triggered it would be precise, right when it was my turn to share the marriage promises. I spent the night quietly testing the system, fine-tuning every second. Each link was hosted on a temporary server I built just for this one purpose: legally sound, technically flawless. By morning, I was calm, strangely calm. I went to the local diner for breakfast, read the Ridgefield Gazette, and even answered some work emails. For most people, it would be the most emotional day of their life. For me, it was just execution day. Ethan arrived at Riverfront Suites around 10 a.m. to help me get ready. He was cheerful, cracking jokes, calling me lucky. "Logan, you're the calmest groom I've ever seen," he said, straightening my tie. "I always plan ahead," I replied, steady and polite. He laughed, not realizing the weight behind my words. Around noon, Claire called me. Her voice was sweet and full of excitement. "My love, I'm so thrilled. Today is going to be magical," she said. "I completely agree," I told her. "No one will forget today." She took that as a romantic promise. I knew it meant something else entirely. By 2 p.m., guests had started making their way to the venue. My family, Claire's family, friends, colleagues, even the state governor had confirmed, given the Morgans' strong connections in local political circles. Back in my suite, I ran the final checks. The contact list was synced. The media clip was uploaded. The timing matched perfectly with my watch. I'd even set up an emergency backup script, just in case. "Ready for this, partner?" Ethan asked, clapping me on the back. "More than you can imagine," I replied, meeting his eyes with quiet certainty. We arrived at Willow Creek Manor around late afternoon. Everything looked perfect. White and pink flowers lined every path. The ceremony platform faced the flowing Silverpine River, with the Ridgefield skyline in the distance. Nearly 200 guests were seated, dressed in their best. Pastor Reynolds, who had known both families for years, smiled warmly from the front. My mother wiped away happy tears. Claire's father, Richard Morgan, pulled me into a proud embrace. "Welcome to the family, son," he said. "Thank you, Mr. Morgan," I answered. "I hope this union is everything you hoped for." There were only minutes left when Claire stepped into view at the end of the aisle. She wore a custom designer gown that cost more than most cars. Her smile was bright, her eyes shining. For a heartbeat, I nearly faltered. I nearly forgot what she had done. Then I looked to my left. Ethan stood beside me, smiling as she approached, and my focus returned. This was it. The music began. Claire walked toward the ceremony platform, her gown trailing behind her. She thought she was walking into her new life, but I knew the truth. She arrived at the platform, glowing. Richard gently placed her hand in mine, whispering something I didn't hear. Pastor Reynolds opened his Bible and began. "Dear friends and family," he said, "we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Logan and Claire in holy matrimony." My hands were steady. My heart didn't race. Claire leaned in and whispered, "I love you." Ethan stood proudly beside me, holding the rings. The ceremony moved forward, readings, stories about love, shared laughter. Then came the moment. "Logan, Would you like to share your marriage promises with Claire? Pastor Reynolds asked, offering me the PA system mic. I stepped forward, took the microphone. Now or never. Claire, I began. I prepared something very special for this moment. She smiled, expecting poetry. Last night, I continued, I discovered a truth that changed everything. A truth that everyone here deserves to hear. Her smile twitched. Some guests turned their heads. You and Ethan, my best man, my best friend, you thought I'd never find out. And then, with a single tap on my phone, I triggered the script. In seconds, nearly 200 phones buzzed in unison. One by one, guests glanced down, then stared. A wave of whispers swept through the crowd like a rising storm. You know what's ironic? I said into the PA system, steady as ever. Ethan was thoughtful enough to record everything. Claire's face was drained of color. Her eyes widened in horror. Ethan turned pale, blinking like he'd seen a ghost. Gasps rose from the crowd. Oh my goodness, I heard Elaine Morgan whisper. This can't be real, someone in the front row said aloud. Claire rushed toward me, trying to grab the microphone. I stepped back. Claire, let's discuss this privately, she begged, her voice cracking. No, I replied sharply. You chose secrecy. I choose sunlight. Ethan finally snapped out of his trance. Logan, listen. It was just once, okay? It was a mistake. Once? I interrupted, staring him down. The messages say otherwise. Several weeks, Ethan. That's how long you two made a fool out of me. The ceremony collapsed into chaos. Some guests stood to leave, others stayed, frozen in place. Pastor Reynolds raised his hands, trying to calm the room. Logan, my son, perhaps... Pastor, I interrupted politely, with all respect, this celebration is over. That's when Richard Morgan stood up, red with embarrassment. This is ridiculous. You're throwing away everything over a misunderstanding. Irrational, I replied calmly. Watch the clip before calling it that. My mother walked up to me, tears running down her cheeks. Logan, what's happening? Claire betrayed me with Ethan, I told her plainly. I can't marry someone who sees me as a convenience. Elaine Morgan rushed forward, trying to salvage the wreckage. Logan, please. These things happen. Claire is expecting. Think of the child. Think of our families. Finally, the part I'd suspected. Oh? I said into the mic. There's a child involved? That's interesting. Claire broke into sobs. Logan, I can explain. No need, I answered coldly. But everyone deserves to know. Are you sure who the father is? Silence. Claire froze. Her face said everything. I suggest a paternity test, I announced. Let's clear that up too. Richard exploded. Enough! You're tearing two respected families apart over jealousy. I'm not tearing anything down, I said. I don't know who the father is, she confessed. It could be Ethan's. Silence again. Real, heavy silence. Ethan stood like a statue. The Morgans and Brooks families sat in stunned disbelief, their reputations crumbling. I turned to the crowd and spoke into the microphone one last time. I'm sorry to those who came expecting a celebration, but I can't marry someone who doesn't respect me. Thank you for coming. I shut off the mic, took the ring off my finger, left it beside Claire, still crying on the platform. Ethan stepped forward. Logan, we can make this right. There's nothing to fix, I said flatly. You made your choice, now live with it. And I walked out. I left Willow Creek Manor with my head high, while nearly 200 people watched in stunned silence. Some pitied me. Others respected me. Many were simply shocked. I didn't care. I had executed my plan perfectly. I returned to my apartment in Old Town District, packed my bags without rushing, and drove out of Ridgefield that very night. I wasn't running. I was leaving to heal, far from the noise I knew would follow. In the days that followed, everything unfolded just as I had predicted. Tina, my assistant, sent me updates while I traveled. The media clip had spread far beyond the guest list. It reached chat apps, private live stream links, even local forums. It became the talk of Ridgefield. 2 weeks later, the paternity test happened. Claire resisted, but pressure from her parents and the community was overwhelming. Richard Morgan pushed for the test, desperate to salvage his family's image. The result? Just as I suspected, Ethan was the father. Tina emailed me the update. "Logan, the test results came back. You were right, the whole city is buzzing. Morgan Estates Group just lost 3 contracts this week. No one wants to be associated with the scandal." I didn't feel joy. I felt closure. While I traveled across the country, I reflected on everything. I drove the Mountain Sky Highway, hiked through parks and desert canyons, spent a week walking the beaches in Bayport. Every mile helped me reset my heart. 3 months after the celebration that never happened, I gave a lecture at a tech conference in Summit City. That's where I saw her again. Natalie Hayes. Natalie Hayes was a software developer I had known from Great Lakes Tech nearly 15 years ago. "Logan Brooks," she said after my presentation, surprised. "I can't believe it's really you." Natalie had always stood out. She was sharp, honest, and didn't waste words. Back in college, we'd had deep talks about tech, about life, but it was never anything romantic. "Natalie," I said, and for the first time in months, I smiled for real. What a great surprise. That afternoon, we grabbed coffee together. She didn't bring up the wedding scandal. I was sure she'd heard something about it, but she didn't mention it. Instead, we talked about our careers, how much we'd changed since college, and the people we'd become. "You seem different," she said. "More grounded, like something major happened." It did, I admitted. I learned some painful lessons about trust and who actually deserves a place in your life. She gave me a quiet smile. The hardest lessons are usually the ones that teach us the most. We started reconnecting slowly. Emails, messages, occasional video calls, and then it just grew. After 6 months, I made the decision to move to Summit City. Brooks Sons no longer needed me in Ridgefield. I had fully digitized our operations, which meant I could work remotely and focus more on my consulting projects for construction firms nationwide. The move felt like a clean break. 1 year after the wedding that never was, we moved in together. 2 years later, we got married at Pinecrest National Park, surrounded only by our families. There was no drama, no betrayal, just love. Back in Ridgefield, things didn't go so well for Claire and Ethan. Tina would occasionally update me if I asked. Claire gave birth to a son, a child that clearly belonged to Ethan. The 2 of them got married, but not out of love. It was an obligation, damage control, 2 people bound together by shame and bad decisions. Morgan Estates Group never recovered. They lost several high-profile projects, including a $50 million deal with the city. Richard Morgan had to sell off company shares to keep the business afloat. Ethan lost his job at the advertising agency. His name was too tied to the scandal. No respectable firm would touch him. He ended up in auto sales at a used car dealership. Meanwhile, Brooks Sons thrived. Without the pressure of the Morgan Alliance, we focused on what we did best, delivering reliable service to contractors across the Midwest. Profits rose by 20% the following year. Half a decade later, Natalie and I welcomed our first daughter, Sophie. 2 years after that, our son Michael was born. We built a life rooted in peace, love, and truth. A life that wasn't for show, wasn't strategic. It was simply ours. Whenever I returned to Ridgefield to visit my parents, I still heard the occasional mention of Claire and Ethan. They were still there, but socially invisible. The scandal had left a permanent mark. They had become ghosts in the very city where they once held power. Once, about 6 years after the wedding, I ran into Claire at Crescent Plaza. She was with her son, now a small boy. She looked older, tired, worn down by time and choices. "Logan," she said, clearly uneasy. "Claire," I replied, keeping it polite. She hesitated, then said softly, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve what happened." "No," I said evenly. "I didn't. But I also don't need to carry anger forever. I hope you found peace." Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded and walked away. In that moment I realized something important. My revenge wasn't about what I exposed. It was about what I built afterward. The best kind of justice isn't revenge. It's rising so high that the betrayal feels small. Today, in my early 40s, I live with Natalie and our children in Summit City. My logistics consulting firm now works with clients across the country. I'm respected in my field. I have peace, I have love, and I sleep easy every night. Claire and Ethan's betrayal could have ruined me. Instead, it set me free. It forced me to strip away the layers I wore for family, business, and expectation, and find who I really was. And that path led me to Natalie, the person who saw me clearly from the start. If there's one truth I've learned, it's this. The most powerful revenge isn't burning down the people who hurt you. It's building something beautiful that makes their betrayal irrelevant. They destroyed their own lives. I simply stepped aside and chose a better one. If this story moved you, like and share it. Leave a comment below. We read them all. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and tap the bell. You don't want to miss what's coming next.